khalas, we stop there. But the Prophet ﷺ said that both of his hands are right hands. He said, and then he goes on to describe who those people are. Who are the muqsitin? He said, those who ya'diluna fi hukmihim, that they are just in their rulings and their dealings. Wa ahlihim, and with their families. Wa ma wallu, and whatever they've been made responsible for. So now, we know that a ruler, right, is part of the reason why he has such a high status, and he'll be from the first of people to receive the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment, is because of his pivotal role, that the decisions that he makes and his behavior impacts the rest of the society. But this hadith right here expands that, our understanding, because we're not in a Muslim country right now, and we don't have a Muslim ruler. So what does that mean for us? If you look at it though, the Prophet ﷺ said now in this other hadith, people who are fair in their rulings with their families and whatever they've been made responsible for. And make no mistake, brothers and sisters, every last one of us are responsible for something. Every last one of us are responsible for something. Also in a statement of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. Every last one of you are a shepherd, and every shepherd is responsible for his flock. And then he goes on and he says, an imam is responsible for his followers, and a father or a man is responsible for his family, and a mother is responsible for her household, and even a servant is responsible in lieu of his, right, their master's not being there, they're responsible for the property of their masters, and so on. So now, what that means is, if you're a father, you can be in that position. You have responsibility to your family. And if you discharge being a father responsibly, fairly, justly, you can be under those who receive the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're a mother, you would also be counted, because you're responsible also, along with the father, but you're also responsible for the children. And you could be, and if you discharge that by having a sense of responsibility, a sense of self-sacrifice towards your family, and doing whatever it is and doing what is necessary in order to take care of them, then this person is what? This person is a just and a fair leader. And for that, they'll receive the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is very, very important, brothers and sisters. Something that I have been afforded in the position that I'm in right now, in teaching and being in the masjid and dealing with families and whatnot. Something that I've noticed in our community oftentimes is this trend of parents wanting to blame children. And parents wanting to blame society because we're in America. If we were just back home, if we were just in country such and such, everything would be all right. It's the kid's fault. It's the phone and the social media's fault. It's television's fault, right? And them not taking responsibility and taking the leadership. Because with that leadership comes accountability, that you're answerable for what you do. And there's an expression I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it here now, in Arabic, where it's some couplets of poetry. It says, نُعَابُ زَمَانَنَا وَالْعَيْبُ فِينَا وَلَيْسَ لِزَمَانِنَا عَيْبٌ سِوَانَا. And it means, نُعَابُ زَمَانَنَا, we blame the times, and we fault the times. وَالْعَيْبُ فِينَا, when in reality the fault is in us. وَلَيْسَ لِزَمَانِنَا, and there is no fault in our time. إِلَّا سِوَانَا, except for us. Meaning, if there's any fault, you got to take it. That's a part of leadership. That's a part of leadership. Take heed if you're a husband. Take heed, especially if you're a father. Whatever going on in your household, you're responsible. If you wanted to blame social media and telephones on, right, as that being the fault of corrupting your household and your children, for example, more often than not in households, do the kids buy themselves $600, $700 phone? Do they, Rakim? Most of the time, no, they don't. Dwayne, do they? Who be buying the phone? The parents. Then not only does the parent buy the phone and allow their kids to have Snapchat on it, and Facebook, and Instagram, and et cetera, and then not even befriend them on it. They allow their kids to have a private, I'm not gonna share with you account, and then pay for the internet that their kids are using monthly. And then don't want to take responsibility for whatever their kids see, whatever is corrupting them. And make no mistake, it is corrupting the kids. Oh, no doubt, Snapchat is obliterating people's sense of shame. I can send whatever on my phone, and after 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 12, 15 seconds, it'll be gone. If I put it on my story, at the end of the day, it'll be gone. Never in the, the internet, it'll be gone. Which, by the way, is not true. Anything can be recovered. But it gives them a false sense of, can't nobody see me. So no doubt it does corrupt. Instagram has algorithms. The more you look at something wrong, and it keeps sending you pictures of whatever you like. So if you pick an inappropriate picture, it's gonna say, oh, here's some suggested other pictures for you. And if you pick that again, oh, here's some other and it's like a rabbit hole. It's like Alice in the, and she just, let me just follow this little rabbit down the hole, see how far this can go. And we expect, as parents, we expect a 13-year-old to know what to do with that. Grown men don't know what to do with it. Grown women don't know what to do with it. There's people who have addictions just to the phone or the internet or inappropriate things or these apps. Adults have problems with it. And we take that, give it to kids, and get mad at them when they act buck wild with it. And not only do that, they keep complaining and they keep paying the monthly bill for it because they're not taking responsibility for it. They're not taking responsibility for it. Y'all understand what I'm saying? And this is a dangerous trend. It's a dangerous trend in our community if we're blaming kids when they're in the learning process. And if there's things that as parents we don't understand, then we're supposed to learn them ourselves. Because you're responsible. Going back to social media, a lot of people be like, man, I don't know what that is. These apps, I feel like a dinosaur using this phone. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? You ever heard people talk like that? Oh, I don't like the phones, technology, that's not me. If you have a 13-year-old daughter, it better be you. You better figure it out. You better learn, you better get familiar as a mother or a father if you're gonna allow your children on there. Because now it's your responsibility. You've allowed that thing to come into your household. You made it now. You made it your responsibility. But if you stop them and bar them from it, then you could be like, okay, I don't deal with that because we don't deal with that in my house. It's also not the best approach, but once you give it to them and you allow them access to those things, you now have become responsible for it because it's in your household. So if a kid is watching something inappropriate, which by the way, the statistics are alarming, brothers and sisters. The average 11-year-old, more than 75% of children will see some shape or form of pornography by the time they're 11. Kids will see by the time they're 11. 75% of kids. Be like, not my kid. No, I didn't say that they'll watch it on their phone all day. But from all of the different possible mediums, either they saw it on their phone or it was something sent in on their email that they didn't ask for, or a friend at school was like, hey, Muhammad, let me show you what this little thing I seen the other day. My brother, he showed me, man. This is some way, shape, or form, by the time they're 11, 75% of kids in some way have seen some form of pornography. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our children. And a week ago, I was talking to a father who bought his daughter who was 13 years old, he bought his daughter an iPhone X. You know how much that costs? If it's got all the bells and whistles, it's $1,200. What a 13-year-old need with $1,200 phone? You know what you can do with $1,200, brothers and sisters? You could pay the salary of a teacher for a whole year in some countries with $1,200. And they could teach a whole village of kids, $1,200. And a parent pays $1,200 for his own headache. He pays for it, and then pays for it monthly, and then wants to blame the phone or wants to blame his kid. Doesn't teach his kid how to use it, doesn't teach his kid what's okay, what's not okay, predators, safety, social media safety and wherewithal. That person is not understanding the responsibility that they have as a parent. They're missing it. They have a limited understanding of what parenting is. They think parenting is food, shelter, clothes, medicine, and that's it. But when you understand this responsibility, that no, what my children see, what they consume, what they're exposed to, you can't protect them from everything. That there's no doubt. But you can prepare them. You can be there for them, spend time with them, and not blame them, but teach them. And when they make mistakes, and they're going to make plenty of them, they're going to make them. And when they do, but you don't blame them, you be there for them and turn them into teaching moments. When you do that, you'll receive the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. That's just parents. Now you can throw anybody else up in there who's got responsibility. Teachers, soccer coach, football coach, mentors, anybody. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said what? وَمَنْ وَلَّوْا. الَّذِينَ يَعْدِلُونَ فِي حُكْمِهِمْ وَأَهْلِهِمْ وَمَا وَلُّوا. People who are just in their dealings and their rulings, their families, and whatever they're put in charge of, whatever they've been made responsible for. So that's one. Secondly, the second one, brothers and sisters, you raise your hand? What's up? I'm saying, say it. Not business, but things that they've been made responsible. If you're a manager at a company, or you have employees, and your transaction and your dealings with them, like how you pay them, right? Are you fair with them? Do you give them? Do you think about only the bottom line of your company, or do you give your employees fair wages? That's another big problem with Muslims too, right? Now I'm not saying you per se, but in general with Muslims, you oftentimes hear, right? Working for Muslims, right? They try to give you the lowest possible pay, right? At all. I remember, for example, working for an older brother. He's a carpenter, all right? Brother's a carpenter. Y'all probably know the brother. He used to come here. May Allah bless that brother. Brother helped me out more than anybody will ever know. But at any rate, when I used to work with him, I got one of my first experiences on working or being employed by Muslims. It was like the first time I'd ever had that. I worked for him, but of course he's a contractor, so he gets employed by often, and you know the brother, he for the most part only likes to work with Muslims. And every time we work with Muslims, they would try to lowball us. Without exception. Not most of the time, not the majority of the time, every time. Some people even tried to offer us I swear by Allah, offer us food and be like, but like, can we just give you this meal and like not pay you? Are you serious? Not pay me? And we're talking, brother, and when I used to work with the brother, wallahi akhi, we used to work 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day. Like start early in the morning. Brother would come pick me up 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, be like, you got your belt? Like, yeah, you got some boots on? Yeah, let's go. And we don't get home till like 10 o'clock at night. And then and you working in somebody's house, putting up cabinets, roofing, building a bedroom, and they're like, brother, we just want to give you. Allah understand. I'm with him, but I digress though. But it's something that's very dangerous in a community, right? It's because of people not discharging their responsibilities. And in particular, those in leadership, management, the head of the company, whatever, right? Where they're not paying their staff, their employees. No. So, no, not just regular business transactions, though, right? Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about that in other places as well. And there's also that you have to be fair and just, right? Like when we went through the tafsir of Surah Al-Mutaffifin, right? وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ. Like Allah, He warns those people. He says, woe to them, mutaffifin. You'd be like, who's the mutaffifin? الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ. That when they deal with people and they're weighing things out, right? يَسْتَوْفُونَ. They want their full measure. When I get paid, I want to get paid exactly what I'm supposed to get paid. And if you want to throw in a little extra, that's fine. But you better not dare pay me any less. And I'm going to raise hell if you do. You're going to have big problems. وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ هَذَا شَيْءٌ آخَرٌ يُخْسِرُونَ. But then when it comes to their turn, and they got to weigh out things for people and give people their fair measure, or give their people their fair share of time, or their fair share of the money, fi sabilillah, brother, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lillahi jalla wa ala. All of a sudden their Arabic is all crisp and stuff. Then they'd be like, but when it comes to their part, give me my full measure. And then when they're doing it for others, so in business transactions, Allah speaks about that, sternly and harshly, matter of fact. But that's a little bit different from what we're talking about right here. But at any rate, the second thing that we said, the first one is imamun adil. The second one, brothers and sisters, was shabun nasha'a fi ibadatillah. Second part is a young person. Shabun is a young person, man or woman. And nasha'a means to grow up. It means to grow. But they grow on the ibadatillah, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And part of why a young person is pointed out here versus all other stages in life is because a lot of the challenges that a young person is going to face, right? And the issues that they have to deal with versus somebody who's older. And in spite of those types of challenges, if they still choose to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they still choose to do the right thing, and what challenges are we talking about? Shahwa, their desires. When a young man is starting to grow up and hitting puberty, or a young woman, and their hormones are raging. And before, to a young person, if you would have mentioned a girl, he'd have been like, ew, yuck. And then he's around 14, 15 years old, all of a sudden he's noticing girls. And vice versa, girls starting to notice guys. And their hormones are raging. And then on top of that, when you think of where we live, and you in class, and you in school, and you right here's a girl, and right here's a girl. Or if you're a female, there's a guy right there and a guy right there. And they looking at each other and passing phone, and all the stuff that goes on there. And all the stuff that's pressured into, that their young people are pressured into, from movies and television and billboards and pop culture and whatever. All the pressure that they get towards the wrong thing. And in spite of all that, in spite of even in their own selves, even might incline towards that and even want, and they still choose to worship Allah. that person has an extra status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they're young. And when you're young, that's when you're handsome. That's when you look good. That's when you still got that hairline. That's when you, mashallah, girls are still looking at you. Guys are still looking at the ladies. When you're young, you fit. You can eat whatever and still don't put on no poundage and whatever. Mashallah. And you still choose to do the right thing, that person has special status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because by the time you're 60, 70 years old, akhi. I remember talking to an imam. He's in his 70s right now. And he's at one point, he had 4 wives. He's almost 75 right now. He's like, man, I don't even care about women anymore. He's like, I don't even worry about that. He's like, I'm too old anyways. Because by the time you're that age, khalas, you've been there, done that, seen everything you had, khalas. You thinking about, right now, you're thinking about, I'm about to meet my Lord. I'm about to meet my Creator. And my blood pressure medication. That's probably what you're thinking about. At that point, you're not thinking about, going to parties, hanging out, kicking it, and probably ain't nobody inviting you either. Ain't nobody probably, right? Ain't nobody, who's inviting an 80-year-old lady to a party? Nobody. But when you're 17 years old, 19 years old, in high school, on the football team, in college, starting on the soccer team, varsity, whatever, everybody calling you. Everybody, what's up, man? We trying to turn up. People even shame you. Where were you? Man, it was off the chain last night, man. Where was you at? Make you even feel bad even if you didn't come. And a young person still choose to do the right thing? Allah is like, come here. Yeah, you got a special place with me. That you still chose to do the right thing, even though everything was available to you, even though it was easy for you to do, even though you had the energy and the drive to do so. Allah gives shade to that person. And how could he not? That person, because that person exercises self-discipline. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. Exercise self-discipline. Wait, you mean don't do this, even though I may not get in trouble? Why wouldn't I do it then, if I'm not going to get in trouble, or if I think I'm not going to get caught? That's what people thinking in their heads. Because that, you know what that indicates? That's an indication that that young person has taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That he has some kind of sense of awareness. Doesn't matter if mom or dad are there right now. Doesn't matter if the teacher's there right now. Doesn't matter if the police are there right now. Authority to that person, their presence or lack thereof are the same. Because they're concerned about the ultimate authority, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for that person who chooses to do the right thing, even though who chooses to do the right thing, even though there's no authority there, that means they're not worried about people. They're only worried about Allah. And that's even difficult sometimes, Sheikh Yusuf, that's sometimes difficult even for adults to attain. And so if a young person can do that with all of the things, the temptations for a young person. So I go back to the issue of social media, and you're going to hear me talk about this a lot, brothers and sisters. Especially parents. Iyyakum wa iyyakum, I warn you. Right? Be mindful and wary. As a matter of fact, everybody else, including myself, make special ta'awudh, which means say, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. You know how you go to the bathroom, and before you go in the bathroom, there's a dua. What's the dua, Shaykh Yusha? Bismillah. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khaba'ith. Man, I almost want to say, it's almost appropriate for you to make that same dua when you go on the internet. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika. You know khubth? You know what khubth means in Arabic? In khaba'ith? It means filth. Allahumma, oh Allah, inni, certainly. Like with extra emphasis. A'udhu bika, I seek refuge. I want protection with you, Allah. Protect me, guard me, min al-khubthi, from every kind of filth, wal khaba'ith, in all of its forms. Y'all should make special time with when you go online and using the internet. Why? Why? Because a lot of people minimize the potential harm that can come from that. Right? That thing is like, it's a double-edged sword. It's wonderful. Anything I want to know right now, I just ask Sheikh Google, and he'll give me a fatwa in 0.3 seconds. Come on, man, that's like it's a benefit that has, like, you know, unrivaled in its history. I can have my entire Islamic library on here. I have more than 50,000 books on here, brothers and sisters. More than 50,000. It's called Maktab al-Shamila. I have thousands upon thousands of books in fiqh. Thousands and thousands of books in aqidah, in usul, and tafsir. That's wonderful, man. That's beautiful. And I download it all from the internet. But I say it's a double-edged sword because you have some of the worst, foulest, filthiest things that you could have on the internet possible. And people, in the name of being up with the times, especially with the immigrant community. I hear this a lot. I got my son a phone because all his friends have a phone. And I don't want to hear my son say, Baba, Daddy, how come all my friends, they have a phone? I don't got no phone. How come it's not fair? When that could have been the perfect time to say, son, life ain't fair sometimes. And you don't get everything just because a whole bunch of other people got it. That could have been a perfect moment for them to teach their children. Or they could have taught their son, you want it? Okay. But you're going to have to earn it. You ain't going to get it for free. Exactly. Get a job, learn some responsibility, then I'll hook you up. Okay. But instead, you know, their paternal, maternal instincts kick in. But I don't want my son, like all my kids have something. You know what that means? You know what that is? That's showing a sense of, like, we like competing for the dunya. You know, when somebody else has something nice, we got to have it too. Somebody else has a nice, you know what I'm saying? Like we go visit somebody and they got a nice couch set. Like, ooh, man, that one's better than mine. I got to get like that one. Oh, somebody else just got a new car. And you see that all the time in our community. Oh, they got a Toyota Highlander. Oh, mashallah, I got to get that one too. Competing for the dunya. And they inculcate that in the kids. But with the social media, like, it's worse than a gun. I'll put it that way. It's worse than a gun. Why? Right? Because a gun is scary in and of itself for a lot of people. So there's this modicum and kind of like level of like, yo, that's a gun, you don't play with that. It's kind of like that sense there. But it has benefits to it. It has benefits to it. It is useful. You can do it for hunting. You can use it for protection. You can use it for a lot of things. I'm not saying it's bad altogether. It can be beneficial, right? But it ain't something to play with, though. You give it the respect that it deserves. And because if you don't, the consequences could be what, Dwayne? It could be deadly. Consequences could be death. Similarly, with the internet, all your son or daughter has to find is a website that convinces them that God don't exist. Atheism. That's worse than death if they're convinced of that. And then people give that to their kids and just be like, here, go ahead. Go ahead, inshallah. Go to the back of the masjid. Go ahead and play Fortnite and watch whatever you want. We're here in the masjid. Don't bother us right now. And you see it younger and younger. Wallah, you be seeing little kids, 5 years old. Huh? $1,500 iPad Pro. And he playing with it in the back. And Allahu Alam what he or she is watching. Right? Which removes, you're potentially removing your children from having the potential, right, that Allah has put in them to be shabun nasha'a fi ibadatillah. Instead of encouraging them and pushing or raising them, rearing them and developing them towards what? Being a young person in the obedience of Allah and the worship of Allah. And so the other thing here that I want to point out about this, right, because it says about a young person. it also speaks to the responsibility, again, of parents. The responsibility that they have to help raise their kids and support them in any way. And that as a community, they should support young people. They should prioritize young people, right? Masajid, they must prioritize young people. The bulk of their resources and their money should be used for young people. The bulk of their money and their resources should be used for young people. You already do it in your house. Food, diapers, clothes, everything. The parents, you already know. The bulk of your money is already going towards your kids. But what I'm saying here is priority. Don't prioritize work. Don't prioritize dunya. Don't prioritize financial, monetary, material gain over your children. Prioritize your kids. And how you spend your time and what you're willing to do will show what you prioritize. And if you want your children to have shade on a day when there's no shade except the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, prioritize your children. And you young people here, don't wait until you're old. Don't tell yourself, when I graduate college, then I'll start doing what I'm supposed to. When I get married, the sister says, then I'll start wearing hijab. Or after I make hajj, when I'm 45, 50, 60 years old, then I'll start doing it. Basically what you're saying is when prime time, when you done basically done all the things that you want to do, and then you're too old to do anything cool and fun, then you're going to stop. And there's no guarantee that you're going to live that long. So my advice to you young people who are here right now is don't wait until you're older. Don't wait until you're older. You being religious, you being practicing, you doing the right thing, making the right choices, the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself, right? Don't wait until you're older. Now, I'll tell you. The third one, رَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. And this is the last one we're going to go over, inshallah, today. رَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. The person's heart who is attached to the masjid. The word mu'allaq means like connected or like attached to it, tied to it. And it says the person whose heart is connected to the masjid. And in brief, brothers and sisters, what that means is a person who they come and pray at the masjid, and as soon as they leave, they already want to come back. You could summarize this as looking at the masjid as like home away from home. The masjid should be like home away from home. Now, first, I want to say that ideally, the masjid should be a wonderful place that is filled with brotherhood, that is filled with connection, that is filled with spirituality, with acceptance, with knowledge, with activity, which is lively, etc. That's what the masjid should be. And that's what the masjid was during the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It was the hub of the city. To this day, if you look at a map on Google Maps, and you look at the city of Medina, Masjid al-Nabawi, and the actual construction of the roads is constructed in such a way that the Masjid al-Nabawi is the center of the city. And all of the roads, right, are in a circle around it, and then all the other, they for the most part feed into it. They feed into the center of the city, which is Masjid al-Nabawi. Right, Tariq al-Salam and other, Tariq al-Matar and all these other roads, they all feed into going to Masjid al-Nabawi. And so during the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, all the activities used to go on there. Teaching used to go on there, education, counseling, right? Even a brother's having marital issues and problems, he'll leave his house and then come stay at the masjid for a few days and then go back home. Travelers come through, they would come and stay at the masjid. And they didn't have the whole rundown No, just mashallah, alhamdulillah, you're welcome, brother. Come and stay, mashallah. There's even a section of the masjid during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it's called Sufa. And the people who stay there, Ahlul Sufa, right? For people who were poor. Abu Hurairah was one of those people who used to stay there, which means what? He used to live at the masjid. He used to live at the masjid. That's his house. Everybody else is checking in, going to their families. He's going there, to the masjid. Nowadays, we look at that and they be like, everybody looks at that guy with suspicion. Why you want to stay in the masjid? Astaghfirullah, Ishfiq, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Now, I understand times have changed. Things are different, right? I'm just saying the ideal. That's what it used to be, right? Now, we acknowledge and I recognize that it may not be like that in all of the masajid. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if all of those things are stripped away, what is the primary reason for the masjid? What is the primary reason? Can anybody tell me? Say that again. Ibadatullah. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. And certainly the masajid are for Allah. Don't call on any other partners aside Allah. The worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even if you don't find all those ideal things that you want at the masjid, don't let a bad experience drive you away from the masjid. You had one bad encounter with an uncle, with somebody who yelled at you about your hair or your pants because they weren't the way they should be, or maybe, you didn't look right or fit the part or whatever, or they stared at you because they thought you was one of the, undercovers, Allah musta'an. Or you put your hands in the wrong place, whatever it might be. Don't let those things deter you from your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to your relationship with Allah, you have to be hungry. Don't let anything get in the way of that. Let nothing get in the way of that. Not school, not work, not your children, not your wife, nothing. Don't let anything get between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's the only reason why you're here. Even Allah mentions in the Quran, right? That don't let your wife and your children distract you from the remembrance of Allah. Even your wife and your kids, they could be aduwwun lakum. Not because they're open enemies trying to fight you, but that they distract you. Instead of your wife reminding you, oh, it's time for salah. Baby, you got to go to the masjid and then come back, inshallah. Or waking you up for fajr. Instead, when you're trying to get up, they're like, no, just stay in the bed. Instead of reminding you about the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and encouraging good, what's wrong if we listen to music? What's wrong if we do this? What's wrong if we do that or whatever? They can be a source of animosity because if they come between you and, but at the end of the day, who's responsible though? We already said that in the beginning. We already said that, right? But at any rate, don't let anything. You making the masjid a place where you find your own little spiritual corner of the world. In this crazy thing that we have to deal with called life every day, where we're all on a collective grind, when we're all doing what we have to do, you have actively, if you want to get the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would remind myself and remind all of you to actively try and make the masjid a place that you seek refuge, that you go to and try. Not because of brothers, that's added, alhamdulillah, that's good. If there are good brothers there that are inviting and welcoming and stuff like that, alhamdulillah. So there's classes and learning and stuff like that, alhamdulillah. But if it all had to be whittled down and there's nothing else there, don't let it drive you away from the salah at the masjid. Right? Because it's not really about your heart being attached to the building, right? And the brick and the mortar and the pillars and stuff. That's not what it's really talking about. It's talking about you understanding that because you primarily go there for the worship of Allah, you go there to pray, you're really running back to your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we're talking about going there to pray. And the salah is, the word salah is from sila, which means connection. And that is your most potent and powerful connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is through prayer. Your most potent and powerful connection and means of communication is through the word, is through prayer. And the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions in a hadith, وَجُعِلَتْ قُرَّةٌ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ. He said, and it's been made for me, the coolness of my eye, right? Which is like an expression of like something that I deeply love and something that I deeply cherish, right? قُرَّةُ عَيْن, like the, no. That's what it means. It means like the thing that I just deeply, deeply love and cherish and hold dear. He said that has been made for me in the salah. And also the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he used to say, Ya Bilal, arihna bis salah. Oh Bilal, give us like rest and relaxation, because arihna is the command form of the verb relaxation. Like give us relaxation bis salah, with the prayer. Because when you're standing in the prayer, brothers and sisters, think about Surah Al-Fatiha. Think about Surah Al-Fatiha. Who knows Surah Al-Fatiha? You, Nu'man. Surah Al-Fatiha. Hold on, Finn, did you say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم? Did you say أعوذ? فإذا قرأت القرآن فاستعذ بالله. Huh. Hold on. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and all thanks is due to Allah. Praise, meaning you praise Allah not because of something He necessarily did, just because of who He is. You praise Allah. Sing His praises. Just because of who He is. And also entailed in the word alhamd is shukr also, which is gratitude and appreciation. Right? Which is different from praise. Praise is just because of who He is. Because Allah is Allah, you praise Him just for who He is. And thanks, gratitude, and appreciation for everything that He's done for you. And you have to understand Allah has done everything for you. Everything you have right now is because of Allah. That's Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all the worlds. Tayyib, keep going. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the most beneficent or the most merciful and the especially merciful. Mercy for all of mankind and all that exists, even the inanimate objects, brothers and sisters. Allah has mercy on everything. That's Ar-Rahman. And that speaks to His essence. And then Ar-Rahim speaks to Allah's actions. That Allah is constantly in the action of giving forgiveness to people, and especially for the believers. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. That's a mercy that's only for the believers on the Day of Judgment. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Next. Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner, the sovereign owner of the Day of Judgment. Tayyib, Maliki Yawmiddin. Now if you look at that first part, brothers and sisters, all of that is Allah informing you and telling you who He is. The first part of Surah Al-Fatiha, Allah is telling you who He is. Not only is He telling you who He is, He's even giving you a template. He's giving you a template on how to make dua. Because when you start making dua, you don't just start out saying like what you want and asking for what you want. Oh Allah, give me good health. Oh Allah, give me guidance. Oh Allah, give me this or give me that, give me Jannah, etc. That's unbefitting and inappropriate and like a lack of etiquette when dealing with your Creator. There's a way to communicate and talk to Him and speak to Him. So you're supposed to start out by praising Him and mentioning, right, the wonderful things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that surah, the first part, is Allah informing us about who He is, and it's also a template for us starting out how you start out your dua. Go to the next part. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. And then in that set part, you still haven't asked Allah for anything, right? But you're talking to Allah. Oh Allah, You alone we worship, and you alone we seek help. So that's like now the preamble to ask your question and make your request and whatever it is you need. Tayyib, you alone we worship and you alone we ask for help. And now you ask for what you want. And Allah points us to do what? To ask for the most important thing. And that's for guidance. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, right? So, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. So now you're asking Allah for guidance. Keep going. And then you just go on describing that path that you want Allah to guide you on. Right? Which is also something you should do, right? When you're asking Allah for what you want. Don't be too specific, right? But describe what you want. طيب, keep going. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. طيب. And not the path of those who earned your anger and those who your guidance. Now, why did I mention this? Because Surah Al-Fatiha, right, is actually a conversation, right, between you. It's supposed to be a conversation between you and your Creator. And remember, the Salah, إِنَّهَا خِدَاجٌ. The Prophet ﷺ, he said the Salah is worthless without Surah Al-Fatiha. Without Surah Al-Fatiha, the Salah is worthless. So I use that to speak about the whole Salah, but that the Salah is a conversation with you, between you and Allah, number one. And number two, particularly Surah Al-Fatiha serves as a template on how to make dua to Allah. Tayyib? Subhanallah. And also the reason why I said it's a conversation, because actually there's a hadith Qudsi where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you read Surah Al-Fatiha in the prayer, when you say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Allah says, my slave has, right, praised me, right? And you say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and each time you say something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is responding in kind. Until you get where it says Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, Allah says, my servant has asked me, and I will give him whatever he has asked of me. And of course, what she has asked of me is entailed in that as well, right? My servant has asked me, and I'll give them whatever they ask for. And when you're asking for guidance, and Allah's promising you, right? And that's how we should think about when we come to the masjid. That's what we're coming for. That's the primary drive that's bringing us to the masjid, right? رَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ. A person whose heart is attached to the masjid. And again, for our older generation, this is not so much a problem. For older generation, right? A lot of them you'll see, mashallah, tabarakallah. Many of y'all have seen, like, at least in Minnesota, what I've observed in Minnesota. Cab drivers, brothers drive Uber, brothers do anywhere. Mashallah, they stop and they come to the masjid. Alhamdulillah. However, for the coming generation, that is lost. That is lost. There are brothers, sisters, and families who live 1 block away, who live 2 blocks away, who live a few blocks away, walking distance from a masjid, and they don't go to the masjid. They rather pray at home, right? Because the sanctity and the sacredness and the viability of that place has been lost on them. Nobody explained to them, maybe nobody showed them, maybe nobody encouraged them. But again, going back to that leadership and parenting, right? This is something, if you live close to the masjid, at the very least, I would encourage you at least praying 2 salats in the masjid. At least Salat al-Fajr and Salat al-Isha. And the reason why I say those 2 in particular, because the other ones in between, you might be at work, you might be at school. Now understand, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can be 4 or 5 times in the masjid. Not everybody has the independence because they're a cab driver or Uber driver or whatever, right? Tayyib. But if you live near the masjid, at least Fajr, and at least, or excuse me, did I say two? I'm sorry, three. Fajr, Maghrib, and Isha. Fajr, Maghrib, and Isha. At least those ones. Now also it might be difficult for Maghrib because it's only what, 4, it's not, what, almost 5 o'clock? 4:57 now? Yeah, so you still might be out and about. But at least Isha. At least Isha. And when you do this, brother, inshallah, we hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers us from those people who mu'allaqun bil masajid, our qulubuna mu'allaq bil masajid. We hope. Right? And the last thing I'll finish with this, brothers and sisters, is that your heart may not be attached right now. But if it's not, you having heard these things about being imam wa adil, shab wa nasha fi, ibadatillah, etc. Everybody I'm looking at right now, that I can see right now, nobody even has gray in their hair. Nope, none. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. None. So inshallah, bidnillah, all of us can be considered shabab. And most of you, inshallah, at one point, or at least many of you right now, may already be imam. At the very least in your household, at the very least. Some of you are well on your way. Right? And all of us, we can all work to have our hearts attached to the masjid. And those are all different possibilities of you gaining the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a day when there's no shade except His. And I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide for all of us and our loved ones and our families with His shade on the day of judgment. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that day and the reckoning to be easy for us, and the standing before Him to be easy. And may He protect us and shelter us. Allahumma ameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to have knowledge that is beneficial and benefit us by the knowledge He's already given us. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us the truth for what it is, and to give us the strength, the courage, and the sincerity to follow it, stand up for it, and call others to it. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us falsehood for what it is, and to give us the strength, the courage, and the sincerity to fight against it, stand up against it, and call others away from it when need be. Allahumma ameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, wa akhir da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. So inshallah, if there are any questions, we'll entertain a few of them now, and if not, then walillah alhamd. No, alhamdulillah, means I did a good job. Give myself a pat on the back. So inshallah, next week we'll be continuing this. We covered 3 today, and inshallah we'll cover the next 4 بإذن الله تعالى next week inshallah. بارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.